Okay, up next is going to be Path of Darkness, BlackFlame Online, Litrpg Gamelit Universe, Glory of Formation Emperor, book number 1. Okay, this one is 231 pages, $2.99, available on Kindle Unlimited. Here's the author's description. John's days are numbered. The mind will consume his life any day. Will this offer to farm inside a game be any better? He wants nothing to do. He wants nothing but to farm in the real world, and is given that chance in a VRMMORPG with a new lease on life. He accepts it. But when he's robbed of his only tool to farm sufficient quota, he has no other option but to enter the deadliest forest of the region and die at the hands of a druid to obtain a skill that will help him reach his goals. However, death awaits at every step in the forest, and he can't die more than thrice. What will John do? Find out more on Epic Journey, BlackFlame Online. You can expect farming, unique quests, town building, epic large-scale battles, forbidden spells. So there you go. That's the novel description. This was an interesting story. It has some huge flaws that ultimately led it to not be not be good for me. But it has some interesting aspects that if you can look past the flaws, you're going to enjoy. Like some of the game mechanics stuff is interesting. I read other works from these two authors specifically. They work together as a pair for other stories in the BlackFlame Online series. And compared to those other works, this one is readable. Those other works had such huge technical writing flaws that they were, for a lot of people, weren't understandable. There's some writing issues. This one has writing issues too. So just be aware of that going into. If you're going to have a hope of enjoying this, you have to understand that this has technical writing issues. If you can accept that, you might be able to find something you enjoy here. There were other issues besides that for me that stopped me from really enjoying it. But I did think there were some really neat ideas here. Personally, I like some of the RPG stuff that happened in the story. I like several of the classes the main character had. Archdruid, the Formationist. There were interesting class powers, interesting progressions of those classes. Lots of crunchy numbers here, which I'm always a big fan of. I like numbers, and I like those detailed character class choices. They're always fun for me. And you get that here. So that's definitely a plus here. There's also some town building here. So fans of that game mechanic might enjoy the story for that reason. However, there were again issues, and not just technical writing issues. There were huge plot holes in the story. And I, in my notes, I wrote like so many times, like, this does not make sense. How does this happen? And story twists that don't make sense. And sometimes I got the feeling that the authors came up with a neat game mechanic that they liked and they thought would be cool, and would appeal to readers. And then just kind of, and they came up with rules for it and they're detailed and everything. They just kind of shoved it into the story. Like, there are literally places where it's like, oh, the main character has to get murdered by a druid to get a power, and he ends up getting a super class. And then like he just kind of falls into a more power structures. And literally, I'm not joking when I say he falls into it. And so it just kind of like there was like ideas for these writers and like, oh, this is cool. We're just going to throw this in and it is what it is. And like I said, some of these ideas are kind of neat and I enjoyed them. But the story itself is kind of a jumbled mess. And also common in the story is not amazing. It's not bad, but it's just kind of okay. Overall, the novel just missed for me. It is an improvement over some of the other things these authors have written for me. I wasn't bored of the story. I had a good time reading it, mostly because of the RPG progression. And I like the use of farming specifically and town building stuff. I thought those were neat aspects that aren't usually used in a lot of Litrpg stories, like specifically farming, as a progression mechanic. I thought that was neat. But again, the story itself had issues. It has technical writing issues and it has storytelling issues where it doesn't make sense. So for me, that dropped my enjoyment enough to drop it below a 7. So it gets a 6 out of 10 for me. Again, if those issues don't bother you though, you might find something here you enjoy. But for me, it just didn't work. So that's Path of Darkness, BlackFlame Online, Litrpg Gamelit Universe, Glory of Formation Emperor, book number 1, with the score of 6 out of 10.